Hey SugarBee fam! Cherry blossom, if you thought the summer I turned pretty season 3 couldn't get more emotional after that hospital proposal and Steven's accident, buckle up. Episode 3 is on the horizon, and it's already stirring up fan theories that are too juicy to ignore. From Susannah's letters to Belly's conflicted heart, we're diving deep into what's next. So grab your tissues and let's break it all down, chapter by chapter. Let's be real. Belly said yes to Jeremiah's proposal, but it didn't exactly scream forever. The moment was raw, rushed, and wrapped in trauma. Steven had just been hit by a car, and emotions were running high. While she said yes, her hesitation before answering spoke volumes. Episode 3 could see her starting to process what this engagement really means. Expect subtle signs of doubt. Maybe she avoids telling Laurel, hesitates to tell Taylor, or simply feels overwhelmed when wedding plans come up. The love triangle is about to erupt again. Conrad may have played it cool so far, but in episode 2, he admitted to Agnes that he still has feelings for Belly. Now, imagine finding out your brother is engaged to the girl you still love. Whether Belly tells him herself or he hears it from someone else, his reaction will be critical. Will he shut down emotionally, confront Jeremiah, or finally tell Belly how he feels? This moment could redefine his arc for the rest of the season. In We'll Always Have Summer, the third book, Susannah's letters play a pivotal role. If the show follows that thread, episode 3 might finally introduce them. These letters, written before she died, could include messages for Belly, Conrad, and Jeremiah. And if one of them warns Belly not to rush into things with Jeremiah, it could become a turning point. A single paragraph from Susannah could unravel the engagement, or reinforce Belly's doubts. Steven's accident may have been the emotional jolt Taylor needed. Up until now, their relationship has been casual, undefined, and often messy. But after Steven's heartfelt confession and his near-death experience, Taylor may finally start seeing him differently. Expect her to stick close by his side at the hospital, feel guilt for stepping away before the crash, and maybe even admit she still cares deeply for him. Fans of their dynamic can expect more than just flirty banter. Real emotional growth is on the horizon. Laurel's absence has been felt, especially by Belly. But after Steven's accident and Belly's engagement, it's only a matter of time before she returns. And when she does, she won't hold back. Laurel has always been Belly's voice of reason, and she's unlikely to support a rushed engagement made in the middle of chaos. Episode 3 might feature the long-overdue mother-daughter confrontation, with Laurel challenging Belly to rethink what love, maturity, and commitment really mean. Season 3 wasted no time throwing us into emotional overload. Within just 2 episodes, we saw Jeremiah drop a shocking proposal, Steven lying unconscious after a car crash, and Belly caught in a swirl of panic, grief, and uncertainty. And at the center of it all? That rushed yes to Jeremiah's question, a moment that should have been romantic and meaningful, but instead felt like it was drenched in desperation. Now, with episode 3 titled Love Lost, the show is poised to take a breath. After the whirlwind of trauma and reaction, this might finally be the moment the characters, especially Belly, get a chance to sit with their emotions. And that's when things really get interesting. Let's talk about Belly's face right after the proposal. If you rewatch that moment, there's hesitation in her eyes. It wasn't an expression of joy or relief, it was tension, uncertainty, and maybe even regret. It's easy to say yes when the world is collapsing around you and someone you care about is pouring their heart out. But it's a whole other thing to live with that decision once the dust begins to settle. Episode 3 could begin to explore the emotional aftermath. Not just the aftermath of Steven's accident or the engagement, but the emotional toll this season's chaos has had on Belly. She's been pulled in so many directions, dealing with grief, love, heartbreak, and pressure all at once, that her judgment may not be as clear as she believes. Now, with time to breathe, the real feelings will rise to the surface. We might see Belly start to question the engagement in subtle ways. She may avoid telling her mom Laurel right away, or she might brush off Taylor's questions about wedding plans. Maybe she finds herself unable to look at the ring without a sinking feeling in her chest. All of these tiny moments will start building a larger truth: she's not ready, and deep down, she knows it. The calm after the storm doesn't just expose what was broken, it gives space for new doubts to bloom. Belly will likely begin to replay everything that led up to that proposal, wondering if she said yes because she truly wants to marry Jeremiah, or because she was afraid to lose him, afraid to face her grief alone, or afraid of the part of her that still loves Conrad. This chapter of the season is all about inner conflict. While the previous episodes were dominated by big, dramatic moments, episode 3 might be more introspective. Belly's struggle won't be loud, it'll be quiet, emotional, and deeply personal. And sometimes, those are the most powerful storylines of all. So don't expect fireworks just yet. But do expect tension, emotional, subtle, and brewing just beneath the surface. Because if Belly's not careful, the calm won't just bring clarity. It could bring heartbreak. Even if Belly wears the ring, she's not wearing certainty, and that distinction will matter more than ever in episode 3. The moment she accepted Jeremiah's proposal was built on emotion, not clarity. The ring might symbolize a commitment, but for Belly, it's quickly becoming a symbol of confusion. As the shock fades and the adrenaline wears off, doubts begin to creep in. They won't arrive all at once, but in whispers, glances, and moments of hesitation. And that emotional distance? It's already starting to form. We could see Belly begin to retreat, subtly, but meaningfully. Maybe she doesn't tell her mom, Laurel, about the engagement right away. And that silence speaks volumes. After all, Laurel is her moral compass, her emotional anchor. If Belly were truly confident about the proposal, telling her mother would be the first thing she'd want to do. But instead, she may put it off, not because she's afraid of Laurel's judgment, but because deep down, she knows Laurel will see the truth before Belly's ready to face it herself. Then there's Taylor, her best friend, her confidant. But even around Taylor, Belly might hesitate. She might laugh off wedding talk, dodge serious conversations, or change the subject when things get too real. It's one thing to say yes in a hospital hallway, it's another to imagine floral arrangements, vows, and a life that suddenly feels too big, too fast, and too final. Belly's internal world is beginning to fracture, and she may not even realize it yet. Her mind could start drifting in quiet moments, glimpses of her past with Conrad, memories that still hold weight, unresolved emotions that never truly faded. Jeremiah is safe, sweet, and constant. But love isn't always about safety, it's about truth. And Belly's truth is still tangled between what she wants and what she thinks she should want. Every small hesitation becomes a crack in the fairy tale. Maybe she pauses before answering a question about the future. Maybe she stares at the ring just a second too long. These aren't grand gestures, they're emotional undercurrents. And in The Summer I Turned Pretty, the most powerful shifts often happen in the quietest moments. It's also worth considering how Jeremiah responds to her hesitation. If he picks up on her distance, even slightly, it might make him try harder, push faster, cling tighter. And that only makes Belly's doubts louder. The more pressure she feels, the more she may want to pull away, even if she doesn't understand why just yet. Episode 3 is less about action and more about emotional revelation. Belly won't run. She won't scream. But she will drift, mentally, emotionally, and maybe even physically. She'll begin to question not just Jeremiah, but herself. What does she want? Who does she love? Is she chasing happiness, or trying to fill the holes grief left behind? One thing's clear, doubt is setting in. And once it does, distance is inevitable. Conrad Fisher has always been the master of emotional control. He hides his pain behind long silences, guarded stares, and that classic cool guy exterior. But episode 2 of The Summer I Turned Pretty season 3 pulled back the curtain just a little, just enough to confirm what fans have suspected all along: Conrad still has deep, unresolved feelings for Belly. And when he learns about her engagement to Jeremiah, that control he's held on to for so long, it might finally start to unravel. This engagement news is going to hit him like a freight train. Whether Belly tells him directly, Jeremiah breaks it to him with pride, or he hears it accidentally through someone else, one thing's certain, Conrad won't be able to hide from this one. The girl he loves, the girl he's always quietly fought for, is suddenly promising forever to his brother. The emotional weight of that reality is massive, and episode 3 might be the moment it all catches up to him. Up to this point, Conrad has stepped aside time and again, always convincing himself that Belly would be better off without his baggage. He watched her grow close to Jeremiah, never interfering, even when it broke him inside. But now? This isn't just about stepping aside. This is about losing her, possibly for good. And that may finally push Conrad to stop running from his feelings and start confronting them head-on. We might see Conrad's facade begin to crack, perhaps through a heated conversation with Jeremiah, an emotional breakdown in private, or even a sudden confession to Belly herself. It could be subtle, a shift in his tone, a lingering look that says everything he's never dared to speak aloud. Or it could be explosive. After all, watching your brother get engaged to the girl you still love isn't something you just shrug off. Episode 3 could become Conrad's emotional turning point, the moment where he stops being passive and starts acting with intention. It's not just about winning Belly back. It's about finally admitting to himself that he wants her, that he still sees a future with her, and that letting her go didn't erase what they shared. What's so compelling about this potential turning point is how deeply it could reshape Conrad's arc for the rest of the season. We're used to seeing him as the brooding romantic, the guy who suffers in silence. But maybe this is the episode where he breaks that pattern. Maybe he doesn't just grieve in silence this time, maybe he speaks, acts, fights. And let's not forget the added layer of family tension. Conrad and Jeremiah may both love Belly, but they're still brothers. An engagement puts them on a collision course that could challenge their bond in ways we've never seen before. Will Conrad risk that for a shot at true love? That's the million-dollar question. All eyes will be on Conrad in episode 3. Because when his heart finally speaks, it could change everything. In We'll Always Have Summer, the third book in Jenny Han's trilogy, there's a deeply emotional plot device that shakes everything up, Susannah's letters. Written before her death and tucked away with care, these letters were meant to be found at the right moment. In the book, they act like emotional landmines, exploding with truth, love, and warnings just when the characters need guidance most. If the show chooses to bring these letters into Season 3, Episode 3 might be the perfect time. So far, the show has been true to the heart of the books while also forging its own path. But Susannah's voice, so central to all three teens, is still missing in the present-day storylines. We've seen the impact of her loss, Jeremiah's desperation, Conrad's withdrawal, and Belly's emotional confusion. But a letter from her? That would be like hearing her voice again. It would bring both comfort and conflict, and it could change everything. Imagine Belly stumbling upon a box of letters in the Fisher Beach house or having them delivered through Laurel. A handwritten message from Susannah, her second mother, filled with gentle wisdom and raw honesty, could serve as the mirror Belly desperately needs. A letter that says something like, "Don't let grief make your choices for you," or "Love with a clear heart, not a broken one," would hit Belly exactly where she's most fragile. Susannah always saw Belly clearly. She knew Belly's heart, her innocence, her indecision. So if one of these letters cautions her against rushing into anything with Jeremiah, especially when she's still hurting, it might validate every doubt Belly hasn't yet said aloud. And coming from someone she loved and respected so deeply, it might hold more weight than anything Laurel or even Conrad could say. But the impact wouldn't stop there. Susannah's letters to Conrad and Jeremiah could also stir the pot. Maybe she encourages Conrad to not let fear define him, to go after what he wants. Or maybe she urges Jeremiah to be honest about his feelings, not just with Belly but with himself. The emotional fallout from these messages could lead to confessions, confrontations, or even reversals in how the characters see themselves and each other. The timing of these letters is critical. In episode 3, right when the characters are beginning to settle into decisions made under pressure, Susannah's voice could arrive like a ghost, gentle but firm, challenging them to reconsider everything. It wouldn't just be a nostalgic callback to her character. It would be a narrative reset, pulling everyone back to their emotional roots. For viewers, these letters would feel like a gift and a wound, tender, bittersweet, and necessary. Susannah might be gone, but her wisdom would live on through ink and paper, delivering one final lesson to the kids she loved as her own. And that lesson? Love isn't just about what feels right in the moment. It's about what lasts. What endures after the chaos fades. For 2 seasons, Steven and Taylor have danced around their feelings like a pair of emotionally clumsy fireflies, always circling, never quite landing. Their connection has been filled with flirtation, teasing, and that undeniable will-they-won't-they tension. But in season 3, everything changed in an instant. Steven's accident, sudden, shocking, and heartbreaking, was the emotional wake-up call Taylor never saw coming. And now, in episode 3, their relationship might finally evolve from playful to profound. Taylor has always kept her guard up when it comes to Steven. She's vibrant, sharp, and deeply loyal, but love, real love, scares her. For most of the show, she's treated Steven like a joke she secretly took seriously. Their moments together have always walked the line between banter and vulnerability. But nearly losing him? That kind of fear has a way of stripping everything down to what truly matters. Expect episode 3 to bring Taylor's emotions front and center. She'll likely be at Steven's bedside in the hospital, hovering, anxious, and wrecked with guilt. Her mind will race. What if I hadn't walked away? What if that was the last thing I ever said to him? That guilt may hit her hard, but so will the realization that her feelings for Steven run deeper than she ever admitted, even to herself. We may see Taylor finally acknowledge the truth, maybe not in a dramatic outburst, but in quiet, raw moments. A hand squeeze. A whispered "I was so scared." These subtle gestures could lead to a deeper conversation between them, one that breaks through the usual jokes and flirtation. Steven, now recovering and seeing life a bit differently himself, might open up, too. His near-death experience could push him to stop pretending he's okay with their relationship being casual. He might finally tell her how much she means to him, and that he wants more than almosts and maybes. The chemistry between Steven and Taylor has always been undeniable, but what episode 3 promises is emotional clarity. We're not just watching 2 teens flirt anymore, we're watching 2 people reckon with what it means to truly care for someone, and the fear of losing them. Their dynamic is maturing. It's no longer about games. It's about love, messy, real, and complicated. If the show leans into this, we could be getting one of the most heartfelt arcs of the season. Steven and Taylor could go from side characters with comedic timing to a fan-favorite couple whose story resonates deeply with anyone who's ever been afraid to admit how they feel, until it was almost too late. Whether it leads to a confession, a kiss, or even just the first honest conversation they've ever had, episode 3 is likely to mark the turning point for these 2. Because now they know, life is fragile, love is rare, and neither of them wants to waste another second pretending it's not real. Laurel's absence has been loud. But with Steven in the hospital and Belly suddenly engaged, episode May 3rd finally bring her back, and she won't be happy. As Belly's rock and reality check, Laurel will likely challenge the engagement head-on. This won't be just a mother-daughter talk. It could be a full-on clash of ideals, love, responsibility, grief, and timing. Laurel may force Belly to confront whether she's choosing love or running from loss. Jeremiah's proposal wasn't built on calm, it was built on fear. In episode 3, we might see him doubling down, planning too much too fast, clinging too hard, or even showing jealousy if Belly and Conrad share a glance. His eagerness may come off as panic, and that imbalance might push Belly further away. Jeremiah wants to hold on to Belly, but in doing so, he might start losing her. Sometimes it's not the words, but the silences. In episode 3, expect a quiet but emotionally loaded moment between Belly and Conrad. A shared look. A soft smile. A moment that says everything neither of them can say out loud. It might not be enough for Belly to jump ship, but it'll definitely be enough to confuse her, and keep fans fully invested in the love triangle. Episode 3 isn't the climax, it's the slow build to emotional collapse. Every doubt Belly feels, every look Conrad gives, every rushed gesture from Jeremiah, it's all part of the larger emotional storm brewing. This episode will likely plant seeds that grow into major fallout later in the season. The engagement isn't an ending, it's the matchstick in a forest full of dry feelings. By the end of episode 3, viewers might not get answers, but they'll get warning signs. Belly's inner conflict, Conrad's rising tension, Jeremiah's desperation, and Susannah's lingering presence will all blend into an emotionally tense setup for the rest of the season. Fans should prepare for emotional whiplash and the possible unraveling of everything the characters are trying to hold together. Want the next deep dive the second it drops? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because SugarBee's got you covered for every twist, every tear, and every Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah moment. Broken Heart Ring Fire.